You can go. Okay, there's your song for the morning for Kin 225, January 20th. Today's class, we're going to review a little bit of aspects of muscle contraction, muscle proteins and contraction velocity, different ways to classify muscle fiber types. So there's invasive ways you can classify them with a muscle biopsy, and there's non-invasive ways you can classify them by using electrical stimulation. And then we're going to try to answer this question too. Can you change your muscle fiber type composition? So some review questions for you here is, where is calcium mainly stored inside a muscle fiber? The correct answer here is D, the sarcoplasmic reticulum. So the sarcoplasmic reticulum, you can see it in this picture that I think I posted before. That's this structure in a muscle fiber. You can see it's in close association with your myofilaments, your actin and myosin. What happens after calcium is released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum? The correct answer to this question is B. Troponin lifts tropomyosin off actin. So you can see that over here, you get calcium released from the sarcoplasmic reticulum. This is all during contraction. It comes down, it binds to the troponin. That causes troponin to lift tropomyosin off of actin. That releases the inhibition from actin and exposes binding sites on actin for myosin. Then that permits myosin to form cross bridges with actin to result in muscle contraction. So those are just a few of the steps involved in the muscle contraction process. Type 2B fibers are the fastest contracting fibers in humans. So is this true or false? This is actually false. The fastest fiber types in humans are type 2X fibers. Type 2B fibers are found in some animal species. You know, that it's obvious that some animals run a lot faster than humans. So some animal species have this really super fast fiber type, type 2B, but those are not found in humans. So the fastest fiber type in humans is called type 2X. Which muscle fiber type has the highest myosin ATPase activity? The answer to this question is C, type 2X. So again, this is in humans. Type 2A is intermediate. Type 1 has low myosin ATPase activity. Which muscle fiber type has the highest sarcoplasmic reticulum ATPase activity? The answer again is C, the type 2X. So this allows, the high myosin ATPase activity allows type 2X to have the fastest contraction speed, and then the high sarcoplasmic reticulum ATPase activity allows the type 2X to have the fastest rate of relaxation after a muscle contraction. So a high sarcoplasmic reticulum ATPase activity will allow you to break down ATP and pump calcium back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum at a faster rate after contraction. So type 2X fibers have the fastest relaxation rate because they have this high sarcoplasmic reticulum ATPase activity. It allows them to break down ATP faster for energy to pump calcium back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Which protein has the greatest influence on the speed of muscle contraction? The answer here is C, the myosin heavy chain. Troponin and tropomyosin also exist in fast and slow forms. Actin is the only protein listed in these groups of proteins that does not exist in fast and slow forms. So actin is the same type in either fast or slow fibers, so type 1, type 2A, type 2X fibers. The actin protein type does not differ across those fiber types. Whereas you have fast and slow isoforms of troponin, fast and slow isoforms of tropomyosin, and myosin heavy chain also exists in fast and slow forms. And it's the myosin heavy chain that has the greatest influence on your speed of contraction. So this is a bigger diagram of a more microscopic view of myosin. You can see that it has two heads, and each head has one heavy chain. So it's those heavy chains and the type of heavy chain that determine your myosin ATPase activity, and that determines how fast you can break down ATP for muscle contraction. So it's the type of myosin heavy chain that you have up here that determines your speed of contraction. So what type of myosin heavy chain is associated with each of these fiber types? So these fiber types are actually named after the type of myosin heavy chain that they contain. So you have these three main fiber types in humans: type 1, which is your slowest contracting, type 2A, which is intermediate, and type 2X is your fastest contracting. Each of these muscle fiber types, the muscle fibers each contain thousands of myosin myofilaments, and each of those myosin myofilaments has these heavy chains. So the type 1 fibers have all their myosins have myosin heavy chain type 1. Type 2A, all the myosins have myosin heavy chain type 2A, and type 2X, all the myosins have myosin heavy chain type 2X. You can see there's these intermediate types. So there's a type 2AX muscle fiber. That muscle fiber would contain myosins that have either myosin heavy chain 2A or myosin heavy chain 2X. So if you can imagine, a muscle fiber has thousands of myosin proteins, and some of those myosins would have myosin heavy chain type 2A, and some of them would have myosin heavy chain type 2X in this fiber type that's called type 2AX. You have these other two fiber types that are intermediate to type 1 and type 2A, and their names are a little bit trickier here. So they're called type 1C and type 2C fibers. They both contain a mixture of myosins that have myosin heavy chain 1 and myosin heavy chain 2A. The difference between the two fiber types is the type 1s have mostly myosin heavy chain type 1 and some myosins that have myosin heavy chain 2A, whereas the type 2C have mostly myosins that contain myosin heavy chain 2A and some myosins that contain myosin heavy chain 1. So this first fiber classification scheme is based on the ATPase activity at your myosin heavy chains. And you can see the main fiber types here are type 1, 2A, and 2X. Those ones exist in humans. And type 2B are the fastest fiber types, and those exist in other animal species but are not found in humans. So this fiber type classification is strictly based on myosin heavy chains or your ATPase activity. And if you're going to determine this muscle fiber type composition in a human, you would have to determine it with invasive methods. So you'd have to take a muscle biopsy and then do a biochemical analysis on the muscle biopsy to determine the fiber type, the type of muscle fibers that are in the muscle biopsy.